Hi, it's Jerry the King Lawler, and you're tuned in to the Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show. I don't know why you are, but you are.
Amazing, says some guy. These men have changed broadcasting forever. The Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show.
Did you hear Roman Reigns? Yaki-ga, huh? You get it, Kev?
Oh, yeah, I can't afford Skype. The baseball analogy.
Yeah, Kev, I just think with Yaki-ga, I don't speak Japan, and you f***ing people.
Oh, yeah, f*** you, DT.
What do you think about that, Kev?
Oh, well, Batista's pretty f***ing sexy, and did I mention Roman Reigns gives me a boner? And, 1980s baseball and wrestling was better than anything else.
DonTony.com.
What's up, everybody? It is May 11th, 2020. See, I fixed the musical intro. It is the Don Tony Show. Oh, my God. Now I fucked it up. I'm not going to play the music again. All right. It's Monday night, May 11th, 2020. Welcome to this edition of the Don Tony and Kevin Castle Show. Oh boy, what a discombobulated night of television. But, we're going to give everybody a good show. I am Don Tony as always, and joining along with me is...
that other guy, Kevin.
That other guy. You know what it is? I'm just like... I was in Don Tony mode Friday, and I was just all weekend, just everything has been scattered. Just so many shows, one after the other. Did one Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, today. But, we got some very interesting things to talk about. For those that did not get a chance yet, make sure to check out our Money in the Bank pay-per-view recap that we did Sunday night, about 90 minutes worth. Got into the main event matches as best we could. Got into the other matches as well. And, I think 24 hours later, do we both agree that our views of last night's pay-per-view remain pretty much the same?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, hey, look. We got, obviously, Raw to talk about. Big announcement that happened tonight on Raw. We're also going to talk about the arrest of Alberto Del Rio. I think it's pretty safe to say that his WWE career is over. Pro wrestling career might be over. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But, look, there was some big rumors that were going on earlier today. And, a lot of people, including yours truly, was not sure if it was true or not. And the buzz going around was that Becky Lynch was pregnant with child, and she was going to announce today on Raw that she was forfeiting the title. And rumor has it that Asuka was going to be the champion. Now, a couple of things that people may not have thought about leading into this. Becky Lynch had already done an interview with People magazine. It's online. She talks about, when she got engaged with Seth Rollins, I think it was like August of last year. And she talks about how when she first found out that she was pregnant. Now, when the Money in the Bank 2 ladder matches were recorded in Connecticut back on April 15th, apparently, Becky Lynch did not know at that time that she was pregnant. That is why there was no stipulation of the title being in the briefcase, nothing of the sort. They did that original ladder match with the thinking that whoever it was going to be confronting Becky Lynch and maybe set up something. Now, before we talk about it, one thing you and I discussed yesterday, that the only reason we were kind of confused with Asuka winning the briefcase is because they just had this storyline with Becky and Asuka. And it just didn't make sense to see that happen again, without some type of a twist. Now, Friday, when I did the Don Tony show and got into predictions, I said, the fact that Becky Lynch, who's a Raw wrestler, a Raw champion, they advertised that she was going to confront the winner of the briefcase. That kind of gave it away that the winner was not going to be a SmackDown woman. Because why would Becky Lynch challenge the winner of the briefcase on Raw? Again, if a SmackDown person won, it should be the opposite. The SmackDown wrestler shows up on Raw. Maybe she teases cashing in on Raw. She teases cashing in on SmackDown. Hell, maybe she teases cashing in on Charlotte. Right. But today on Raw, we had the opening. Becky Lynch comes out, and she's pretty much in tears. So we pretty much realize that she is going away for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Still not sure if she was pregnant. Always the chance maybe it's injury. If you go back and you rewatch the beginning of it, the way that she was talking, like it felt like she was very let down about something. It gave the aura that maybe she got some type of a serious injury or a medical condition other than pregnancy that we didn't know about. Go back and watch it. She was talking like it was a down. But then she brought out Asuka, and the briefcase was in the middle of the ring. And I had tweeted like, wouldn't it be something if that women's championship is inside the briefcase? And basically, Becky is talking to Asuka. She opens up the briefcase. Apparently, the reason why Asuka never opened it is because she didn't know the combination. But Becky reveals the title, and she says, while you be a warrior with the championship, I will be a mother. And that's pretty much what happened. So Becky Lynch has relinquished the Raw Women's Championship. Asuka is now the champion. Congratulations to Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. And your thoughts on this announcement, not only of the pregnancy, but the fact that, Becky Lynch, for the foreseeable future, her career is pretty close to being done.
I would say so too. On Twitter, it was like a tale of two cities on there. The older people who, even if they don't have kids, guys like me and you, my age, Draper's age, Joey, late 30s, 40s, 50s, who kind of know what it entails when you have a kid and what, especially a first kid. And Becky's not that young.
33.
33, okay. I mean, in the age group. But what it's going to take to have a first kid, she might really fall in love with being a mother. Might not be back. Other people were like, 12 to 16 months she'll be back. And I'm like, where are they getting these estimations from? And people are like, she'll be back but within less than a year.
That's why I don't pay attention to those goofs.
No, I get it. But, you interact with people and you're asking, why do you think that? And like, oh, she's going to retain her. She'll get her spot back. I'm like, a lot happens in a year. And again, for a first child, a lot of people decide, this is motherhood's for me. I'm not going to be back. If you remember, a woman named Trish Stratus decided that. So again, we don't know what her mindset is or what her and Seth planned or whatever. But she might be gone for good. And we're not saying that, being dicks, negative. No. The fact of the matter is this might be for her and she might get into acting. There was talk that she's getting movie roles and stuff that might segue. Her schedule would more gel with being an actress and doing spot appearances on television or a movie here and there than it would to be in the wrestling ring. And she doesn't have to take bumps. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know how she's going to deal with having a first kid, how she's going to be, how she's going to deal with the pregnancy. We wish her well, and that's great news for her. I think it cuts a top person career very short in the annals of history. She would have been on top for a year and change. She was over for a year and a half, champion for a year and a month. It's not a flash in the pan. It's a flash in the pan at the top of the food chain. It's not, her career's not a flash in the pan. She put in her time, been here since 2013, in the developmental system, and she's put in her time. But I would have thought maybe she would have watched something like this preventing something like this from happening. It's a little bit later. But maybe I don't know. Maybe like
Wait,
I said,
you said prevented from happening?
No, yeah, maybe like no, not wanting to have a kid right now while she's at the top of her game in her prime. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
You know, I guess, but who knows what couples discuss? I mean, tell you the truth, DT, I didn't hear the rumors about what you heard today. You said you had heard about it, that she might be pregnant. I didn't know anything about the people thing till after it happened. So I was pleasantly surprised when I was watching it. So I was totally caught off guard with that announcement. I knew she was opening the show, but I didn't know about the pregnancy thing.
Yeah.
But again, I guess, you know, this was a couple's decision, and this is what she wants to do. I wish her well. But I don't know if she can retain her spot back. I think that's wishful thinking. Who knows? Tessa Blanchard could be the #1 girl in the WWE a year from now. We don't know who's going to be here or what's going to happen. Other people are saying this would be the ideal time to have a kid because God knows when they're going to go back to crowds, and this would be a time to take off. I don't know about all that, but
you know,
I know. Let me just say this.
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
I think that again, the only kind of shame about this is all they've kind of put into Becky Lynch, and she was she was one of the faces of the company. So I don't know. They're happy for her, but I'm sure there's something, not just Vince, but some of the people are like, oh fuck this, you know, we really need her now more than ever because they're hurting right now. DT, they're hurting for star power, and they lost a major player here out of the blue when you really think about it.
Well, this is how I look at it. You know, most of those people are saying that absolutely stupid shit online. Number one, don't even have boyfriends or girlfriends. So anybody out there that makes comments like that, the first thing I usually do is I go and look at their profile to see if they have been in that situation or can relate to it. And, you know, once I realized that almost 100% of those people saying that stuff don't have kids, aren't involved in a relationship, I just, you know, move on and talk to people with a brain with this. Right. The thing is that none of us know the personal life of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Becky has been saying a few times recent year or two that she would love to have kids. She's 33 years old already. As far as, you know, them needing star power right now, I've been talking about this for a good month or so. You know, her not competing all that much recently is not a new thing. You go back to November, half of her championship run, she has wrestled on Raw since November in a singles match. What was it, like 3 times? She's defended the title, I think, 9 times or 8 times in the entire 400 plus days. They have been utilizing her very, very thin for quite some time. As far as her and Seth Rollins, none of us know what is discussed behind closed doors. None of us know what is said in the bedroom. As far as her getting pregnant now, you know, we don't know if this was planned or if this was unexpected. And I just think as far as personal choices, you know, I even myself, I don't have kids, and I don't know what it feels like to want to have kids, and you don't want to wait too long. But any of us speculating, guessing, and this and that, I just think is, you know, out of our pay league. Everybody that's tuning in right now. She is still very young that she can come back and wrestle. You know, I think of Nikki Bella, Brie Bella, you know, Nikki more of the neck issues, but Brie Bella, you know, she would love if she had the opportunity and, you know, wasn't so, you know, unfortunately, I don't even know how to say it. You know, you don't want to say green, but sometimes you lose it and it never comes back. The air goes out of the bubble and the balloon and you can't blow it back up. Beth Phoenix has kids. Beth Phoenix has wrestled. There have been women who have had
long time after though, DT.
Right, but what I'm saying is that for people to say, oh, she's never coming back again, or to say, oh, she'll be back in a year and a half, nobody knows. Nobody knows. But one thing is for certain. Whether it's 2 years from now, 5 years from now, she's still going to be less than 40 years old. There's no reason why having a Mania match, and we need to understand something too. we're going to talk about part 1 of The Undertaker Last Ride later on, which I thought was fabulous. I watched it twice last night. I couldn't sleep. But, when you see Undertaker preparing for wrestling, and I'm not trying to be a jerk right now, but when you see Undertaker preparing for WrestleMania matches, or even Edge coming back, or, the type of match that you see a man doing on a comeback is much different than a female on a comeback. And what I mean by that is, you're not going to see Becky, like going through tables and just going through insane beatings, which this women's matches are a lot simpler than male matches. That's just the way it is. So Becky Lynch, without a doubt, can return to the ring down the line. And my gut feeling tells me that, there's no reason why that can't happen. But for now, I just personally think, just real life, comes first. And I just congratulate Becky and Seth Rollins. That's a wonderful thing to have. That'll be a really cool Christmas gift for them, because she found out that she was pregnant, I think mid to late April, and she's been pregnant since March. So she's due to give birth sometime around Christmas. Mm-hmm. So, what I also thought about today is Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey had a memorable first 9 months or so in WWE. And we all thought that she was leaving last year to go have babies. I don't believe that has happened yet. But, Ronda Rousey, if she decides not to have children right now, there's always that possibility that she could come back. I just personally think that WWE, in my opinion, as far as women's wrestling goes, we've kind of talked about this on all of the shows. You've done it, I've done it, Mish, Soup, everybody. But when it came to like Charlotte, Becky, Ronda Rousey, WWE knew they caught lightning in the bottle, that would be something that could be WrestleMania main event caliber quality. Right. You take away that element. Charlotte, to me, is still the number one woman in wrestling for the last 10 years plus, easy. But the thing is that as far as the man and the popularity she had, I know it's not as huge as what it was maybe a year ago, but I just don't see anybody else on the horizon that could fill those shoes. You look at the current roster, you look at people who are heels, you look at people who are up and coming, and, let's also be honest that 4 or 5 years ago, yours truly used to make fun of Becky, mumble mouth, and, so nobody in a million years ever expected Becky to become as big as she was. I don't know if those shoes will ever be filled. So I think, for the foreseeable future, we will have an extremely talented women's division, without a doubt. Yeah. But as far as someone to be on the level of popularity and, crossing into entertainment, I don't know if anybody's ever going to fill that anytime soon. So, I wish her the best. I wish Seth Rollins the best. What'd you think of the way they used Seth Rollins tonight?
It was okay. Well, it was funny that at first Seth Rollins wasn't part of the celebration. She didn't mention him in the thing. Obviously, then they went backstage and everybody was there. I was wondering if he was going to come out. Everybody knows in a relationship, it's not like kayfabe or anything. But they didn't really mention him much about the whole thing with the baby, which I thought was funny. If you don't mind, I think one of the funniest comments was Shayna Baszler's promo on Becky. How funny was that?
I tell you the truth, I wrote on Twitter earlier, I swear to God, I'm not even joking when I say this, and I think who is this, King Merc? I think you'd probably be the first one I do it for, and I say that with love, my friend. But I wish Shayna Baszler would open a cameo. If she opened a cameo and charged money for cameo videos, I would work overtime just to give her a list of people on social media and just pay her to just go on video and say, how stupid were your parents to get pregnant and give birth to somebody like you? I mean, she could be the MJF of the women's division. Now, WWE is not going to have her doing middle fingers or anything like that, but a cold-hearted bitch, the reason why that gets over on social media is because the most outspoken people on social media are the ones who complain and try to be stand-up comedians and insult all day long. So this goes right in their wheelhouse. You know, personally, you know, I love the fact that Becky signed off on this. You know, she is fine with Shayna, you know, doing what she said earlier. And
wasn't a shoot?
Oh,
that wasn't a shoot.
no. It's Shayna Baszler. Did you see the WWE Network special on Shayna Baszler?
I didn't get to watch it. That's on my list. I watched Taker and I watched the Triple H thing the other day. So I didn't get to watch it yet. That I'm going to watch. I saw that's on my list, but I didn't know that she was that. Give this girl a mic. We're all, you know, cage fighter and no fighting skills, but she's good on. That was pretty funny. It's like, how stupid do you have to be to get knocked up by the world champion? I mean, that was pretty funny. I thought that was like quote of the night. And then what she said to Natty, what do you know about having kids? I mean, that was funny. But
she's been doing insults like that for a couple of years now. It's just different topics.
Well, this was making fun of someone who just made the announcement of having a baby, one of the top people. That was a pretty good jab to take at her.
Yeah, that fits her character perfectly.
It's great, and it'll get her over. It'll get her over because everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, when everybody was hugging Becky Lynch in the back, you know, all baby faces. You know, the usage of Seth Rollins today, I loved it because Seth Rollins is arguably the number one heel on Raw. They're trying him to be the number one heel on Raw. So, you know, for the sake of the character, you know, you don't want to have that human emotion as far as television goes. Do I expect to see a TMZ video with Becky and Seth? Absolutely. Will we see a little bit of Seth out of character online? Absolutely. But as far as television goes, this is an entertainment show. So they spent a lot of time today talking about Becky because she is arguably the most popular wrestler on the roster. If you want to dispute that, then the most popular female on the roster. And they invested a boatload of fucking money, energy, and time in her the last year and a half. So this was a major tribute. This was her tribute. You know, so Seth not going in character, you know, out of character, I thought was exactly the way to go. And I loved it when he came out during his matches and he's looking like, you know, what the fuck? He had the look on his face like he had no idea that she was pregnant. Like he just went out there and he's like, you know, that reminds me of like, almost like Raven, because we talked about the storyline with Bueller and Dreamer and Raven back in 1995 or 6 with ECW. You know, when he found out that Bueller was pregnant and Bueller was pregnant with Tommy Dreamer, he would come out for his matches after that and just look very despondent. So Seth Rollins being shocked about the pregnancy, sure, it's not the same storyline, but him looking around despondent and then snapping, and in the case of tonight, ripping Rey Mysterio's eye, you know, I thought it fit perfectly. You know, save the real life stuff for TMZ and People Magazine. The cameras are rolling. Don't even allow a tiny little bit of human emotion to let in Seth Rollins' character life right now. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And the match itself with hurting Ray and stuff, that was not. But Ray is always getting beat down. Poor Rey Mysterio is always something always bad.
Fuck is Callisto when you need him, man?
What's Callisto?
Seriously, if Seth ripped both of Callisto's eyes out, I'm telling you, I'd probably blow a load, man. I can't stand that guy.
Jesus.
I say that jokingly, you know, but hey, you know why I liked what they did to Mysterio today, too? I guess we could segue into this for a minute. We'll get back to Becky later. The announcement sort of the wild card has returned. You know, because they figure they got SmackDown guys there. Why not, you know, do a little bit of the wild card rule? This time it's actually called the brand to brand invitation. And after Drew McIntyre beat Andrade tonight, which I thought was a pretty good match.
Yeah, not bad.
Didn't they just fight like a couple of weeks ago?
I thought they did, but now Drew has just decimated Zelina's whole crew. I thought they were going to be a top trio there, and it looks like they're just fodder for Drew McIntyre.
Yeah. But after Drew McIntyre beat Andrade, he gets on the microphone and he says that there was a brand-to-brand invitation, and that somebody from SmackDown, who he knows very well and he can't stand, is coming to Raw to fight him. Mm. And I'm like, all right, you know, I don't mind the wild card rule. You know, just makes that whole drafting with Fox versus USA Network kind of goofy looking back on it. But they announced Corbin is coming to Raw.
Yeah.
And my first reaction is that, you know, who the fuck really wants to see King Corbin like more than one time a week? You know, if you're going to bring people to Raw or SmackDown, you know, why don't you do it interactive? You tape every 2 weeks, put a poll up on WWE.com, let the WWE Universe vote on like 4 or 5 different people, and who would you like to see Drew McIntyre face in a brand-to-brand invitation 2 weeks from now? And let the fans vote. At least you know that the person that he faces is somebody that people wanted to see. But now we got fucking Corbin on Raw next week. And the reason, getting back to Mysterio, why I love that is because I always try to think outside the box. How asinine and stupid would it look next week? All right, maybe in storyline they didn't know that Corbin was at Raw tonight. But how stupid would it be next week if Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black are at Raw and they don't come out trying to beat the balls off of Baron Corbin for almost trying to commit double homicide last night at Money in the Bank?
Exactly.
You know, so Rey Mysterio with his eye ripped out, he's probably not going to be on Raw next week.
Well,
what do you think?
Funny, DT. It's funny because I would have, had I not known, and you saw earlier, I believe Ray resigned, right, with WWE, from what I read. And if I didn't know that, I would have thought this was an angle to get Ray off of TV for an indeterminate amount of time because maybe he wasn't, or it was a way to ride him off TV. That's why I thought it was strange that they did an angle like this with him tonight. He just resigned with the company. So I'm not sure what the end game is there. And, of course, Baron Corbin explained on his promo with your girl Charlie Caruso, they look very good tonight, by the way, that he threw those two and they fell to 6 feet below to a secondary tier. I guess he had to explain it in case anybody actually thought it. Yeah. And it was funny. He goes, well, they're here tonight. They obviously are okay. You know, so that was kind of funny. He told Charlie they're here. So obviously they're fine. But I think you're right. You know, like they used to, what was that pay-per-view or the years ago they used to do DT without the fans vote for somebody?
Taboo Tuesday?
Yeah. They used
Cyber something.
Cyber Tuesday.
Monday, man.
Something like that. And you have the fans vote. I mean, but I like that idea of a fan vote. Make it interactive, make it fun for the fans. Do a top 3.
Cyber Sunday,
yeah, something like that. But they had the voting thing, and it was supposedly legit. And have that done, especially in today's technology, today's day and age. Make it interactive, especially what's going on now, the boredom that people have at home. Get people online, get them interactive, and vote in who you want to see face Drew McIntyre. That'll make people watch probably more. That's a good idea, DT.
Could do that with Strowman too.
It's a great idea, actually. I think it's a good idea.
I mean, it's pretty easy for them to do. They're all competing in the same building. It's not like Raw's in Anaheim and SmackDown's in Texas. They're all in Florida.
I like the idea. I wish you'd maybe send them an email about that. That's a great idea if everybody's listening to this. Make it interactive. Again, this would be the time to do it. Why not? Can't hurt, especially with the ratings the way they are.
I think the only reason why they did that with Raw tonight is to extend the character of Seth, like just totally like, despondent because of him finding out that he was pregnant, his fiance's pregnant. the only mention of it really was Ray, and that's why he flipped out on Ray. But I thought that the ripping of the eye was Paul Heyman trying to explain, okay, Corbin's going to be on Raw next week. It's going to look kind of stupid if Ray's here and he doesn't try to gain revenge for what Corbin did yesterday. So if Ray's taken out with an injury, that explains why Ray is not here next week to try to gain revenge on Corbin. I don't know what happens with Aleister Black, though. It makes me think that if Aleister Black is on Raw next week, maybe something happens to Aleister Black early in the night. So this way, when Corbin comes out for his match, we don't have 1,000 people on Twitter saying, how come Aleister Black's not coming out and trying to gain revenge? Corbin almost killed him a week ago. So I think that was the reason why they did that.
Yeah.
So
but it was good. It was good to get Raw. I mean, we'll break it down more, but I thought it was overall an entertaining Raw tonight. Much better than the last few weeks of reviewing Raw. And if we go back a little bit, DT, what'd you think of Asuka's reaction to getting the title and then her reaction to Becky? You like the goofball Asuka? I mean, we talked about it.
I love it, man.
She's entertaining. Some people are upset that she's not being the Great Muta version female, that she's not this killer assassin that she used to be, that she's too comedic now.
Well, she could have killed.
But she looks like she's having a good time, though. I mean, that's the whole thing. I don't think it doesn't look forced upon her. And her reaction tonight to the belt, Joey Numbers was just talking about in the chat. It is, it's how can you not like it? I mean, I think it's this is what Asuka is now. I think this is what she's going to be, and she's not that methodical killer anymore. She's still very dangerous in the ring, and I don't think it's changed her style at all. It's just I think she's added some color to her character. That's
Listen, it makes me laugh when I see people say that online, and meanwhile they never pay any attention to the women in Japan. They don't pay attention to other women's promotions that have some very fucking talented women there. This is World Wrestling Entertainment. And Asuka is not spectacular with English, so they have to compromise. And I've said this 1,000 times before. This prolongs Asuka's career. There's no reason why Asuka has to kill her fucking body right now. If she can get over and have that connection with the fans, and she don't even have to say a word of English, that is extremely rare in the history of pro wrestling. I mean, you had Funaki where he would go, indeed, or you had Tajiri that got a little, pretty over with the William Regal stuff more than anything. But, this it gives an extension of Asuka. Now, the thing with Kairi Sane is, where does this lead? Does Kairi Sane get jealous of Asuka? Or this is why I don't think, when people say, oh, well, Asuka will never beat a monster again, depends on who she could feud with. I personally think, Asuka, if there's with Becky gone, someone has to become a big baby face on Raw. Sorry, Natty, I just don't think she fits it after all of these years. Nah. I'm not saying it's Asuka, but Asuka has a much bigger connection with the fans than Kairi Sane does. And, one side says to me that Asuka will be very selfish with the belt and, not share it with her friend, but at the same time, though, if Asuka, ends up acting more like a heel again, who's the big baby face? Bianca Belair, she doesn't have that connection yet. I'm not saying she can't be, but, Charlotte's a heel. Nia Jax's a heel. Shayna Baszler's a heel. I mean, you really don't have anybody to fit that spot. Now, so I have no problem with how they use an Asuka. I mean, what would you all rather have? One of the Iconics to beat Asuka? I mean, what do people want? If this gives a comical and it prolongs her career and she's having fun and she doesn't have to kill her fucking body, why are people complaining at this? I don't understand it. Tell me who she could feud with where she could be a monster right now,
Yeah, I think it's just, again, people see someone in a certain light for a long time and then they change. And I didn't know, by the way, Asuka's 38, will be 39 in September. her? Wow. Okay. She's been around a long time. So yeah, you're right. At this age and stage, and I think Asuka's got kids, if I'm correct. Probably this is the way to go for her to prolong a career, like you said, to do these over-the-top moves and stuff. She's in another phase of her career, and again, it's much better. And she's connecting more to the fans now too. I think Asuka was always respected a year or two ago by the fans, but not exactly a lot of people rocking Asuka shirts and signs. She was respected, but she wasn't over. Now I think she'll be, when live crowds come back more, I think they'll enjoy her, because we said she's been the MVP of Raw and of these shows, and I think people have recognized that for her, and I think she'll get some good ovations, heel or babyface. When they get back to live crowds, I think Asuka's going to be more over than we've ever seen her before.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I know some people were kind of annoyed that they just handed her the title. I mean, I don't know why.
Becky couldn't have a match. I mean, could Becky be cleared to even get rolled up? No. Could Becky even get the bad roll up like Austin did to Owen Hart back at the SummerSlam?
Why would anybody want that?
I don't, but you know what I mean, DT, to make it official that she got pinned, and you know what I mean.
People would be in an uproar. A woman that's pregnant for possibly 2 months, agrees to be in any type of a match at all. I have no problem with the way they did this. I thought it was actually pretty creative, the way they played it off, that the people in the match yesterday did not. I mean, look, the match was taped, over 3 weeks ago. But, just playing off that the women in the match did not realize that them winning the briefcase, which was much more than just the briefcase, it's a creative way to do this. So I have no objection with it whatsoever. Now, I do have
someone, excuse me, did someone would have won a belt anyway, and certain Money in the Bank things, something's on the line. It might as well be the title. There was no other way to go. You're right. Asuka won, and that's it.
If they would have done anything different, even if WWE knew back on April 15th, that means they would have had to announce her pregnancy on April 15th. And people need to remember something. I'm not trying to be a dick when I say this, but I'm just telling you like it is, because I always try to think one step ahead. What was the exact championship reign of Becky Lynch? What does her reign end at right now, since she lost the title technically tonight? Anybody in the chat have the exact number of days? It's right around 400. So 399. Okay, mystery. One fall says, Nick, everybody, 399. Okay, so obviously they were trying to go for beyond 400, and I just said it last week and yesterday. It felt a lot like the Nikki Bella reign. Yeah. But here's the thing: if they would have known about it before they filmed the ladder matches, that means her title reign, yes, it still would have been 398 because it would have been yesterday. But technically, everybody would have thought, okay, the minute they make the announcement, you understand what I'm saying? Like they taped it April 15th. Now, a lot of fans don't know it was taped April 15th, but if they would have known it back then, then they may have had to have made the announcement back then. Maybe it would have leaked out. Again, I've said this before. The empty buildings right now shows everybody online that 96% of all the websites out there have this for sources. This is what they got for sources, because nobody knows anything. Even earlier, here's a great one. This was a fucking great one. Go to Ringside News, go to all these fucking jerk-offs today that said that they got exclusive news today. Exclusive. And I even tweeted about it because I knew this was going to happen. Exclusive news that they got directly from their sources that WWE was going to address Sami Zayn's championship run today since he's not appearing on television. Did that fucking happen?
No.
Did it happen?
Did it happen?
No, it didn't happen. And then I realized, you know where they got it from? I think it was Hugo Savinovich. He's got like a Latino wrestling rumors website, and it's all written in Spanish.
Oh, Hugo's still around?
I think so. It's either him or somebody. It was somebody like that. But
about 40 years. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't speak Spanish, but
No.
but I did a little research, and I said, here we go. 45 minutes earlier, he writes in Spanish that rumor has it that they're going to address Sami Zayn's title situation on Raw. So all of a sudden, Ringside Goofs and all these others, our direct sources are telling us exclusively that they just fucking read the tweet. They went and did a Google translation. And that's our sources. People are realizing now, and we mentioned it last night, people are realizing now that all of these people who claim that they had all these sources have none. Never had any. They read tweets. They're just constantly, getting emails or Google alerts when something's written about a particular person, and then they try to post it before everyone else saying, see, we got the exclusive scoop. What happened with the Sami Zayn stuff? Nothing. Can we talk about the Iconics? You know why I want to talk about the Iconics, right?
Well, tell me why, and then I'll be honest and say I knew that.
They were on A Moment to Piss.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It was truly an iconic moment to piss.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, you didn't see it then.
No, I saw it. No, I saw it. What I said a couple of weeks ago, just taking an estimated guess when there was no contenders for the title. I go, well, the Iconics have come back, and I told you that Peyton, I was following her on Instagram. She changed her hair color. Looked like she was changing up her gimmick a little bit. And then I heard the music, and I'm like, I knew it. They were going to come out. Now, I was thinking Billie Kay was going to look different, but she looked the same. Peyton looked different. She looked good. And I made a comment, I'm glad they brushed up on their wrestling and their act while they were away for months. But it was the same old shit. They got the win tonight, but that match was just drizzling shits.
Well, you're probably kind of happy that you're not about to see this, but for quite some time now, I have been mocking Alexa Bliss's segment. It's called A Moment of Bliss. I don't have anything against her personally, and I've said many times before, I like her. She's very inspirational. I don't think she's all that spectacular in the ring, but, I root for her, and she's definitely improved. With that said, I have joked many times before that her segments are not a moment of bliss, it's a moment to piss. And, tonight we had the Iconics as they're confronting a moment to piss. And I was like, wow, this is truly an iconic moment to piss. And I was like, I suddenly had this crazy urge to go take a leak. So I decided to get my camera and I decided to record this. Think I'm kidding? Think I'm joking? Obviously have to do this PG, but this truly is an iconic moment to piss. Iconic! Very true. The fuck you giving me on Raw tonight? Exactly, man. Fucking the Iconics, after all this stuff, they suck. They still suck. I actually took an iconic moment to piss tonight while they were on.
That's not a bad stream for a middle-aged man.
I actually had a few people say to me, like, wow, maybe you need to go to like the proctologist or something.
Oh my God! But that's normal, guys, for middle-aged guys. That's I can attest.
Yeah,
that's for me myself too.
Think I'm kidding? Think I'm joking?
That's a first.
Obviously, you have to do this PG, but this truly is an iconic moment to piss. Shit. That sucks. But
as long as you weren't in pain taking a piss, then we would have been concerned about you.
Yeah, I got it one more time for everybody.
That's funny.
Oh, there's no audio. It kind of sucks.
That's all right.
I'm sure everybody's like, that's good. Oh, too bad. Think I'm kidding?
Oh, there it is.
Think I'm joking? Obviously have to do this PG, but this truly is an iconic moment to piss. Iconic!
Jesus. Oh, Lord.
The fuck you giving me on Raw tonight? Is the segment over yet?
Oh, good Lord.
All right, Pete, almost 30 seconds.
Jesus Christ.
Holy shit. It's like 34 seconds. Wow.
Wasn't burning.
Yeah, so it truly was an iconic moment to piss. I'm sorry for the lack of production quality on this. Like I said, I'm still getting the hang of the video stuff here, but
yeah. Did you look up how to get the audio good for urination on the show?
No, I just grabbed my phone and I just made sure that Mike Johnson wasn't hanging out in the bathroom mirror when I walked in there, and I actually played it back first to make sure that there wasn't any nudity or anything like that. And I made sure that the phone stood above the toilet seat, so I didn't want anybody to get overly offended to it. I just figured the audio would be enough, and that was a legitimate piss. I mean, some people like to, yeah, I mean, some people like to pour like a glass of water in the toilet, make it sound like they're pissing. Trust me, I don't think there's any way to do that for like 36 seconds, So, but well, I thought it was very predictable today. The only way you're going to give that suspension of disbelief that the Iconics have any legitimate shot at possibly beating Cross and Bliss for those belts is they got to win a non-title match. Happens with the fucking Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. It happens with fucking everybody. It'll happen with the Forgotten Sons of Bitches and New Day. There's always a non-title, and the team wins, and then it leads to it. You're going to see the Iconics versus a moment to piss at Backlash.
Yeah,
wasn't a gimmick piss, George, but. What do you think about them bringing back Backlash? I don't remember hearing that name for a couple of years. Backlash.
Something to do, something different to inject into a very boring situation right now with wrestling. So that doesn't. So I mean, whatever Backlash. As long as they have some decent matches on there. Like I said, we weren't hating on the pay-per-view last night. So if it's a decent lineup, they put on a decent show. I'm all for it.
What do you think of the Iconics overall, though?
At first, when they first came on the scene, I liked them because I thought they were kind of cutesy. They were annoying, but they were cute. There was something different. Then they just were all gimmick. They were all talk. And once they got to the ring, there was nothing there. It was once the bell rang, it was over. They had some flashes. And you would figure, Peyton would get better. She's married to a pretty good wrestler, Ty Dillinger. They work out on Instagram all the time. They train in the ring together. I don't know why she's not getting better. And Billie Kay is probably one of the worst wrestlers in the company. She really is. And I don't want to hate on either of the two girls. I understand they're sweethearts in real life. They're very nice people. But they're just not getting it. And again, they're away from the ring. Can you be better when you come back, when you take all that amount of time off? Why are you just as bad? I don't understand that. Shouldn't you be better? Shouldn't you be honing your craft and getting your gimmick better? They look great from a cosmetic, but in ring, it looks like they're just not getting better. And if this is the best they got in the tag team division, those tag team belts don't mean shit.
See, I look at it like a job. You got a company, any type of company, and you're looking to promote someone, and you're discussing like who could possibly get a promotion. I think it would be very ignorant to give somebody a promotion because they're a likable person. Sure. I mean, wrestling.
You can keep a job though sometimes, DT, if you're a likable person.
Sure, of course, because you can obviously look. The fact that the Iconics are in WWE, they obviously have some talent. The problem is that there's so many other people that have a lot more talent. And the thing is that I think this is kind of, and no disrespect intended for our international friends tuning in, but I don't think anybody would deny this. WWE has gone out of their way to sign people for the last bunch of years, sometimes based on what country they're coming from and actually their ability. They want to be the melting pot. You look at, sometimes you feel like there's more people that are from overseas on TV than there are inside the United States. They wanted people represented in almost every country. They have signed some people from some countries, and you see them in the ring, And it's like, if you cut off Great Khali's legs, and if you took Great Khali and cut his legs off, and then he faced Giant Gonzalez without his legs or his arms, I think they both would wrestle better than some of the people they have signed in some other countries. They never make it to television. They don't even perform in NXT. Some people, you look at them, you're like, okay, I could see aesthetically why they may have signed some people, but there's some people you see them sign from certain countries and like, what is this? I mean, they were more concerned about having almost every country they possibly could representing in WWE than the actual talent. That's why you see some other promotions out there. You see some people who you just say to yourself, how the fuck did WWE not even consider signing this person or this person or this person? Right. 9 times out of 10, all those people are in the United States. And trust me, WWE, for the last couple of years, unless you were something really special, if you were an indie wrestler in Oklahoma, or if you were in fucking blah, 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 Stan, and you had some type of look or something where you could possibly be molded, there was a good chance they were going to hire blah, 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 blah country than hire the person from Oklahoma. Yeah. And anybody thinks that I'm wrong, trust me, just go look at some of the signings that they made. And, you see some people, they keep them for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and then they end up getting released anyway. They have been obsessed, almost to the point of obsession, about looking for international talent and, bypassing some real gems in the United States. Just
you think for just to have that cross section of international flavor on the show, you think politically WWE is doing that? I mean, even isn't Vink and Thorne, aren't they from Australia too?
Yes,
those two guys, they're from Australia too. Obviously, Buddy Murphy is from Australia. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but obviously, look at the champion is from Scotland, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know, DT, why? Yeah, I mean, you would think WWE signs people based on performance, talent, could be possible superstars of the future. It does make a lot of sense to me, and to me, people who aren't really worth much, wouldn't they be on the cut list anyway? So I don't know why bother to sign somebody if you don't think you can really do much with them other than just being you need utility players, but I wouldn't even call the Iconics utility players because they're on TV, they're off, they're on, they're gone for half a year, they're back. They've been off TV as much as they're on since they got signed. So I don't know what their thing is with them. So I'm thinking, DT, somebody does like them in the back.
Oh, yeah. They definitely like them. That's why they're still there. But to me, this is the same thing they did with Dana Brooke. Same thing they did.
Oh my God,
maybe not on a level of Tamina, but we've been talking about this for years and years and years. They have to utilize people, and and that's another thing WWE's been obsessed with for the last bunch of years as well, giving everybody a chance. Giving everybody a chance. Just imagine, like a baseball team and someone is batting .085. And, in a tight game, we got to give them a chance. So no, you're going to put your best players out there. And WWE has been obsessed with giving everybody some type of an opportunity at some point. And then what happens is like Dana Brooke is perfect example. A lot of people got angry with me last year when, she was getting that little flurry of wins. And I'm like, that's just to give the suspension of disbelief that maybe she could possibly win, and it's just smoke and mirrors. Tamina, with all due respect, I actually like Tamina now more than I have in her entire career. But this was smoke and mirrors the last couple of weeks, and they'll try to keep that momentum. But, Shane Thorne and Brandon Vink, all right, maybe they'll be a star, or I think Vink is the one that they see a star in, but, if they think that's going to happen within the next 2-3 years, there are so many people that they would have to leapfrog. It's just so random. And them teaming up with MVP today and losing, it's like, I don't know. I got the same feeling about them than I do with the Forgotten Sons. All right. some people unfortunately don't fit in. And, you know, Vink and Stink, I just, you know, it just, you see them promoted and you say to yourself, you could probably come up with 20 names in NXT. You say to yourself, why the fuck did they not elevate this person or this person? And I'm not talking about the main eventers. I'm talking about people on the lower card. So,
yeah, no, I agree with you. It doesn't make a lot of sense at all. Actually, it makes no sense. But the WWE has been very questionable for quite a while now.
And it's funny because MVP is now trying to get in the ear of Lashley, which actually seems to make more sense and has nothing to do with Black. No. It makes more sense because Lashley looks like money. Vink and Stink look like NXT. Or not even NXT. They look indie. So why would MVP not want a guy who is one of the most dominant wrestlers on the roster, especially if you're trying to continue that breakup between Lashley and Lana?
Right.
MVP throws a monkey in the wrench. So I love the idea of MVP possibly starting a faction with Lashley. In fact, Apollo Crews, I'm pretty sure that match that they did on Raw where Apollo Crews got injured and they had to put AJ Styles in his place, I'm pretty sure that match took place after the ladder match was recorded. So if that's the case, Apollo Crews was never supposed to be in that ladder match. Right. So I'd like to see Lashley and Apollo Crews maybe managed by MVP. Doesn't have to be all Black, but I'd like that a hell of a lot more than him just going up to two random indie guys and just saying, yo, ballin'. I wouldn't even think that would make sense in the old TNA. It would be kind of dopey.
So you think, yeah, and I was thinking the same thing. They're confusing me with MVP. Is he going to still wrestle or is he going to be a manager? I think he would be. I'm totally against him wrestling anymore. I think he's done. But I think as a manager, putting together a stable and letting Lashley be like the big heavy in that, and then have another guy underneath that. Have maybe Vink and I was going to say Vink and Thorne as like a building project. Have a legit stable like they used to have with managers back in the day. Have about 4 guys, have a tag team and 2 singles, have a top single who's wrestles for the championship, and kind of a middle single wrestles for maybe the U.S. Intercontinental title. I don't know why they can't do that. I think MVP can talk at least. And I don't know what they come up with a catchy name for the stable. I think they should really go for that, actually. And it looks like that's what they're doing.
Yeah. The thing with MVP, it kind of reminds me of Titus O'Neil. Feels like Titus Worldwide. Titus O'Neil would wrestle a little bit, but Titus O'Neil was trying to recruit Tozawa and someone else, and I think Apollo Crews at that time too, right? And Tozawa.
It was Apollo Crews.
It was a little comedy with Tozawa. We'll talk about Tozawa in a second, but kind of reminds me of a different variation of Titus Worldwide.
Yeah, exactly. And that really never went to anything. And who else? Wasn't Dana Brooke in Titus Worldwide? She was the secretary.
She was with the clipboard and everything.
She was doing like the Miss Hancock.
Yeah, that was just so random, man. They were trying. Look, she's holding a clipboard. She's telling everybody to flag. She's this and that. My time, Again, I have nothing against her. She seems likable, But again, I don't think anybody should ever be pushed simply because they're likable, or if viewers keep turning off, and the Iconics, look, they held those tag titles. Honestly. Even though those titles were not around all that much, as far as tag teams go, male and female, that is in my top 5 of the worst tag team runs in history. I actually would tolerate more R-Truth and Pac-Man Jones than what they did with the Iconics. And the reason why I say that is because the women's tag titles were so new at the time. Right. And they just totally... When Bayley and Sasha Banks got it, all right, you're starting off with a nice bang. You kind of feel, it just felt powerful. Felt like quality people got it. And then the Iconics get it, and it's smoke and mirrors. Go back, everybody, and look and see how many times they defended 2 times. And you look at that, WWE took a brand new tag team titles, in my opinion, and flushed them down the toilet because of the run they did with the Iconics. Because they realized they were annoying, yelling in the ring, Iconic, and then, okay, we'll give them the belts, and they're like, wait a minute, like, who the fuck are they going to feud with? And they stink in the ring. They stink. Nothing personal. Not everybody could bat 300. Some people may know the basics, but they can't tell the story. The Iconics are probably better in a video game, because you control the moveset. It's just instinct. There's some people that just have unbelievable instinct when they're in the ring with moves. They know their presence. They know where they are in the ring. They know where the counter, and that timing. Dana Brooke. How many years have we talked about the horrendous timing of Dana Brooke? And timing is only 1 or 2 seconds.
Yeah.
When somebody's in the corner and then they have to be there an extra second or two because Dana Brooke is a second or two too slow, it stands out. So I just think the women's tag team titles, with all due respect, have taken a major step backwards. And I think they will remain a major step backwards for the foreseeable future. Kairi Sane and Asuka was so much better than all of the other tag teams, with the exception of Bayley and Sasha Banks. And Bayley has the women's title, so they weren't going to keep them as a tag team for those belts. They tried Becky and Charlotte, but they were too valuable. They needed them separate. So you just look at the quality of tag teams right now. You're going to see Dana Brooke teaming up with someone again. And it's the women's tag team division in WWE right now is probably the worst part of WWE.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of people say, the women's division in AEW, with the exception of Sheeta and a couple others, the women's division is probably the weakest part of AEW as well.
Yeah.
So, but as far as matches tonight, we already talked about Vink and Stink with MVP. They lost to Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, and R-Truth. And after that match was over, Bobby Lashley, with his obsession of beating the fuck out of R-Truth, he makes his face again. Kind of felt a little out of place with now R-Truth not going to find his baby after last night. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Lashley,
at the beginning of the show, fought Alberto Carrillo, beat him in a no DQ match, which I thought was very good because Lashley, had originally lost to him in that tournament for Money in the Bank. I'm actually liking what they're doing with Lashley right now.
You think he's going to be anything, though? He's going to go on to do anything?
I think there is a very good chance of him holding one of those titles within the next month or two. I really do. It would not surprise me, and I know some people may not like this because people really want Cedric and Ricochet to be tag champs. It would not surprise me if Lashley and Apollo Crews, if that forms, I could see them leapfrogging Ricochet and Cedric Alexander and possibly being the ones to take the titles off of the Street Profits. The Viking Raiders, did you see that basketball shit today?
Yeah, I saw it.
What'd you think of it?
I wanted to think it was going to be somewhat funny, but, my brother was saying it would have been great had they had, you would thought the Viking Raiders couldn't play basketball, and then they ended up playing like the Harlem Globetrotters, doing some like badass moves, spinning the ball in their fingers. But, they were obviously bad, or they were perceived to be bad. Just from, being the Viking Raiders, they didn't know how to play ball. They missed the hoop. But it would have been cool if they actually knew how to play and knew how to shoot. That would have been great. So it was kind of predictable what happened. The only thing that was funny was when they thought they won and then they showed the score 74-2. So that was kind of funny. But other than that, it was kind of predictable. Reminded me like an old school thing that they would do in the WWE, but they probably could have been a little bit more creative with it.
I just don't understand. Just suspension of disbelief if the Viking Raiders don't even know how to throw a basketball. I'm not saying they had to shoot hoops, but throwing it against the ceiling what the fuck you doing in the gymnasium in the first place? you have them in the car. Just because he's holding a fucking turkey leg doesn't mean that they're prehistoric. You know what I mean? They're trying to play them off as prehistoric guys that don't know what society is, but meanwhile they're fucking driving. You know, I mean, I don't expect them to be on like the Flintstones dinosaur or anything like that, but I don't know. This kind of makes me feel like, you know, now batting for the revival, you know, the Viking Raiders. It just feels like their attempt once again to do a little comedy with a tag team that is just very, very plain, you know. I don't know. I think they're trying to make them entertaining and lovable and funny. Oh shit. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. I forgot I had that thing on the background. I don't have that set up yet, but the Viking Raiders, it almost feels like maybe not the same, but a little bit of Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman was a fucking monster. Then they had to team him up with a fucking kid, you know, and just they totally like ruined. Like they had like a really rare monster. Big Show's in the twilight of his career. Kane is a mayor. You know, Mark Henry is close to retired. Lashley wasn't back yet at the time. This guy's a fucking monster. And they to me, hurt his character. And it feels like they're totally ruining the Viking Raiders.
They could do a lot more with them, but I guess they just see them as, you know, almost like what they do with the Bushwhackers. Remember how badass the fucking sheep herders were? And then they bring in Luke and Butch and they turn them into, like when they first got to the WWE, I remember I'm like, oh shit, the sheep herders are here who are hardcore to the T. I mean, you remember the sheep herders, DT. And when they came, it reminds me of the Viking Raiders. They had that badass reputation from Japan and from Ring of Honor. And when WWE sees some of these guys, they just see like, let's bring out the silliness in them. And we were just talking about Oscar before. It worked for Oscar, but I wanted to work for the Viking Raiders, but I'm just not finding them very humorous. Yeah. You know, I'm not. It's not charming like the way at least Oscar. You're like, she's kind of cute doing that. The Viking Raiders are coming off kind of cringy. They don't look uncomfortable doing it. I just don't think they kind of know what they are. Are they these killers? Are they just, you know, are they the new Bushwhackers? And I mean that seriously. Is that what they're trying to do with these guys?
I have no idea. They ain't no Bushwhackers. And I never I mean, they were lovable and everything, but I was never a big fan of the Bushwhackers. When they were the sheep herders.
You acknowed that sheep herders were
the sheep herders were awesome. I mean, it was kind of a shock when they went from the sheep herders to the, you know, licking kids' heads.
Exactly. Yeah.
I understood why they did it, but you know, and by the way, you know, for a couple of questions in the chat, I'll get into them later. You know, the reason why I'm not getting into them right now is we're talking about the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits, and somebody asks about Otis in a briefcase. You know, I can't go from talking about the Street Profits and then bring up Kalisto. When we get into topics that are similar, then we blend them in. So I don't want anybody to think that they're being ignored. They're not. We'll get into it in a couple of minutes. But, you know, a little consistency. We're on certain topics right now. But, you know, but I'm just, you know, TMZ even covered this. TMZ made, and it's funny because, you know, it feels online like WWE is desperately trying to fit in with major sports. And that's because Reign Entertainment, don't apologize. There's no apology. I just don't want anybody to think I'm ignoring them. I don't ignore anybody. But, you know, WWE is so, like, kind of reminds me, and I think I kind of brought this up before, like in high school, when you have the cafeteria table and it's nothing but the football people, and then you have this nerd that tries to sit there and eat with the football guys, and they're just ragging on him and like, you know, just trying to ignore him. That's what it feels like. I mean, Mike Tyson, you see those videos of Mike Tyson the last couple of days?
No, I haven't seen him.
It's crazy. The guy, you know, I don't think he's going to box in a match again, but he looks scary. Mike Tyson is my favorite boxer of all time. I have Mike Tyson stuff. I have so many of his fights. I've sung the praise of Mike Tyson. Yes, I know about his personal stuff, but I fucking love Mike Tyson. And, you know, I see some goofy shit on the WWE Twitter earlier, like, oh, Mike Tyson's even going, looking for the 24/7 title. And I watched the clip, and I was expecting after he was doing his sparring that he was going to cut a promo talking about the 24/7 title, unless I saw the wrong clip. All it was one of his clips sparring and looking impressive. And I'm like, leave the fucking, they're so desperate to try to fit in. Like, and I know Trump met with them too, because Vince is $1 billion company, his biggest wrestling company, but it is entertainment. It's sports and entertainment, but MLB, NFL, NBA, hockey, boxing, WWE, not even pro wrestling, WWE. And look at this America Cares thing where they're giving the jerseys to all the health professionals, which I think is wonderful. Before that happened, did you see WWE fucking doing any charity drives? We're going to make a shirt and raise money for this and that. No. They started talking about COVID when they joined that charity thing with all the other sports companies. You didn't hear them say fucking COVID ever, for the most part, until they signed up with that fucking charity. And then all of a sudden, we at WWE for COVID and all the, the first responders, if those other sports organizations were not part of that charity, I hate to say it, I don't think WWE would have been part of it either. No. They didn't do almost nothing before that. I'm not saying they didn't do anything, but just go look, because we brought it to attention. They put the shirts for the empty arenas and stuff like that, and we said it a few times. WWE's not donating a portion of the proceeds for United Way or this and that. Cody puts up a shirt, raises this. We fucking raise money on the YouTube thing. All these wrestling companies donating proceeds here and there. WWE absent. But once all the sports got together and do this, we're in. So it's so glaring sometimes. Any charity is better than none. But man, you could see, I could just picture WWE in meetings, like, what could we do? Oh, all the sports outlets are doing this. Yeah, call them up. That's what it feels like to me. So with that said, we had Shayna Baszler beating Natty. We sung the praise of Shayna Baszler earlier.
Yeah.
That absolute asshole bitch. They should never, ever go away from that. That WWE special, I recommend everybody check out. I think you will enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely check that out. But it was an odd kind of pin she got on Natty, if you saw that. Like,
yeah.
Just a knee, like a knee to the face. And then Natty was having a temper tantrum in the ring afterwards. Did anybody catch that? Where she was kicking her hands and feet on the floor and really pissed off. But it was kind of like bratty. It didn't come off like, I'm so mad I lost. It came off like kind of a brat. I don't know what they're doing. So is Natty going to turn now? Or I don't know.
Are we going to start calling her Bratty Natty?
Bratty. It was. She was banging. Go look at it. She's banging her hands and feet on like
Bratty Natty. We got to hashtag that. Bratty Natty. Bratty Natty. Bratty Natty.
But yeah, it was an odd kind of pin. It was just one knee to the head, and then it was. It could have been a devastating finisher, but it looked like she didn't really, drive it in. But it is again. What are they going to go all out for this? It was what it was.
Yeah. We had we talked about the Iconics beating them moment to piss non-title 5 minutes. Like I said, that's just to try to put a little momentum behind the Iconics. Smoke and mirrors, maybe leading to backlash. It is what it is. I just they didn't show me anything today for me to say, for all the times they were off. Put it this way, I'd rather see a WWE Network video that they've been helping kids with cancer, helping people with COVID, doing inspirational speeches at schools, doing all this wonderful stuff, than hearing that they have been training while they were gone. Because if they were training while they were gone, they should go back and train a little bit more, because they showed me no improvement whatsoever in the last time they were on TV.
Right.
If you would have taken a match from them from a year and a half ago, put it on pause, and then tonight's match was just unpausing it, it looked the same thing to me. No improvement, no real, just some people like just whip out some things that maybe nobody seen. I remember when Cena, he started doing stuff off the top rope and doing some moves we never saw him do before, taking things out of his pocket. Iconics did none of that today. Drew McIntyre beating Andrade. Again, we saw this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. I don't know why, but it just feels like it. I'm pretty certain he did. Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black beating Seth Rollins and Murphy by DQ, which I thought was incredibly stupid because all Seth Rollins did was like throw him in the guardrail and he got DQ'd.
Yeah.
That was just god awful. I did like him, squeezing his temple, even though we were supposed to believe it was the eye. But, him trying to rip the eyes out of Rey Mysterio and him looking despondent about everything with the pregnancy. Even though the commentators were really not trying to correlate his, zombie-like, feeling or look and Becky Lynch's pregnancy. They were leaving it up to us to try to put the two together, and he's fucking devastated that his significant other got pregnant. That's what it kind of felt like to me.
Yeah.
So, but did you overall Seth just snapping like that? You want to see more of that?
Yeah, no, I liked it. I thought it was good. Again, and then he ended up hurting Ray over that, and I guess there's going to be an angle to that. But last night I was confused, and I didn't think he was going to turn babyface, but he shook Drew's hand last night, so I was wondering what that was. And now tonight he goes in the opposite direction and flips out. So I like the unpredictable Seth Rollins. Yeah, I like how he's acting now.
Yeah, Anna. Shout out to Anna. She wanted to know, what are your thoughts on the fact that Seth Rollins is going to be a dad?
Good for him. Obviously, first kid for both of them. First marriage, first kid. So it's the first time. That should be a great thing. I don't know. I guess he'll be a good father. Don't know the guy personally, but it's a good thing. I mean, I don't know if he's going to take time off of wrestling too. Maybe towards when the kid's going to be born, maybe he'll take a sabbatical too.
Yeah.
So you don't know. And I think he's the type of guy who probably would.
Yeah.
I think he probably might. He might disappear for a few months towards the latter part of her pregnancy.
Yeah. Because at the days of somebody getting fired due to pregnancy, it happened with Dawn Marie. Some people, tried to create some controversy with Maria, that Maria signed, and then they decided they were going to intentionally get pregnant, which I thought was a little unfair, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And, I saw a lot of people, I kind of felt bad for Mike and Maria Kanellis tonight. I saw a lot of people going on Mike's Twitter and saying, wow, WWE did not pay any attention to you guys. Yeah, she did. She was the first pregnant champion because she had that title, but they kind of made a mockery out of it. And meanwhile, tonight with Becky, and I thought that was really unfair because nothing against Maria or Mike, because I'm fans of both of them. I follow Mike on Twitter, but they're not on the level of the popularity of Becky Lynch. So I never correlated the two tonight and thought wow, look how they treated Maria and look how they treated Becky. I don't think that's fair to do.
No, it's not. It reminds me of DT. The story when Mick Foley was wrestling when he was a newcomer. He was wrestling on the Independence, and he accidentally got Don Morocco's payoff, and he thought it was for him. And then he gave it back, and he goes, "Why is Don getting so much more money than me?" He goes, "Because Don is a big star, and you're not."
Yeah. I mean,
that was funny.
It's funny that somebody even needed to tell him that. And that's the thing that's pretty amazing.
I love when Foley tells that story.
Yeah,
he's a big star, and you're not at the time. So if anybody's wondering, well, Mick Foley is a big star. At the time, he wasn't.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's funny.
Anthony Diaz.
Becky's a big star. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Anthony Diaz says this Oscar is 100% better than Killer Oscar. I'm telling you, man, I like this Oscar now because she connects with the fans. Mm-hmm. I'd rather see Oscar stay in the company for 3 to 5 more years and still be able to have great matches than to go balls out maybe a year and a half. Because, again, she's 38?
Yeah,
so
38.
She doesn't have that many years left, even if she could still go. shelf life, we talked about it yesterday, shelf life for women in wrestling is a lot shorter than men in wrestling. It's just like a football player. A football player's career in the NFL is a lot shorter than a baseball player's career, or maybe a basketball player's career. It's just the way it is. What'd you think of Edge and Randy Orton closing out Raw tonight?
I thought it was going to be good, but honestly, I didn't care for the promos of either one of them. And then Charlie Caruso coming in the ring at the end was weird.
Yeah, when that happened, you knew there wasn't going to be any violence.
Yeah, there was no violence or anything, and Randy seemed to stop and start with his promo. I mean, again, it's the same shit that we heard before, and I like both of them, and I think they're going to maybe try and make up for that WrestleMania match, which they think was good, but a lot of us didn't think was very good. So maybe they'll put on a better version of what should have been the match that they had, even though, again, they thought that match was great. Others, depends on who you ask. It was too long. It didn't go the way we thought it was going to go. But I like both of them. Edge is one of my favorites. Randy Orton's okay. He's not one of my top favorites, but the two of them work good together. But it was anticlimactic ending to Raw, which I thought was a decent Raw, to be honest with you. It kept my attention all Raw. It's better than the last few weeks, but anticlimactic. It wasn't anything. Nothing really happened.
Yeah, I thought it was backwards. You know, first of all, I don't think most of us said that the WrestleMania match was terrible. We just thought it was way too long.
Yeah, too long. It's like shorten it up, maybe make it conduced. Make it just make it overall like a better presentation. The last one was it was way too long, and it just went on forever, and it just kind of took you out of it after a while.
Yeah, I just thought tonight was backwards because Edge was the one to get the win at Mania. So them advertising last week and this week that Edge is hunting for the Viper, for me it should have been the opposite. The Viper should have been hunting Edge because of what happened at WrestleMania.
Right.
So it just did not, I just thought that was so backwards. And then, the ultimate is a challenge for a straight up wrestling match. I don't mind seeing Edge and Randy Orton having a straight up wrestling match, and we know that they gel well and it'll be good. But, I know this is not her fault, this is WWE, but her at the end saying that this could be the greatest wrestling match in history. I'm like, okay, the fuck out of here. Seriously. I mean, they're both extremely talented, both Hall of Famers. They're both great entertainers. I actually look forward to seeing them right now more than anybody else on the main roster, with the exception of Kevin Owens, who's not been around. But, greatest wrestling match in history, seriously. I mean, Michael Cole said many times, the greatest pay-per-view in history, arguably the greatest. But, I don't know, it just felt very, plain. I mean, they should have announced originally that Edge was going to be appearing. And then there should have been some type of a tweet or something online that Randy Orton, says, oh, Edge is going to be at Raw. I'm going to be hunting for Edge. They should have, what they should have did? They should have advertised 2 weeks ago that Edge was going to be on tonight. Then this way, after that following week, they could have showed that Randy Orton posted a tweet or one of those fucking cell phone vids where Randy Orton says, oh, Edge is going to be on Raw next week. I'm going to be hunting for him. They could have done that over 2 weeks, and that would have explained, why both of them ended up on Raw at the same time. But Randy Orton should have been hunting Edge, not the opposite. Edge got the win at Mania, not Orton.
You're right.
So I thought that was a little bit backwards. But what else do we get? Oh, the usage of Tozawa, that baffling usage continues. We joked about it last week that something must be going on with Paul Heyman and Triple H, because Tozawa on Raw gets squashed in 2 minutes. Tozawa on NXT is in a cruiserweight tournament, and I think he's 2-0. That's what it feels like. I mean, even, Shane Thorne today was a little bit different because Shane Thorne lost, but you look at Tozawa, it's so confusing. He's on NXT, and I get it. He's facing smaller guys on NXT for the most part, but he's on NXT and he's winning matches, and he comes to Raw, and like Paul's like squashing him. It's Paul and Paul. Paul number 1 is squashing him, and then Paul number 2 is like, "Hey, what are you doing to him? He's in my cruiserweight tournament." Exactly. I don't get it. Tozawa, they just really, really fucking with him tonight. Yeah. But I did, I agree with Benjamin. I did like Tozawa with the extra vocals tonight. Being a little bit almost Iron Mike Sharpish a little bit. No. He's always been vocal, but tonight it felt a little bit more vocal. So let's give a shout out to our new and returning patrons. In fact, I think they're all returning. JT Rebstock, Jermaine Chapman, Tabitha Mason. What's up, Tabitha? Michael O'Brien, and our newest associate producer, Derek Brewer. Sorry, I updated the list on the sponsored associate producers. We got some new, and we have some that are no longer there. But welcome aboard, welcome back. Tomorrow on Patreon, you're doing your solo show, correct? Castle Chronicles?
Yeah, Castle Chronicles tomorrow night at 8:15.
8:15 p.m. I'll be online Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Dynamite. Should be an interesting NXT and AEW. We'll see what they do next with Karrion Kross. So you haven't had a chance to say on, the show since last week. I mean, how did you like his debut?
I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, it was epic entrance and Scarlett. And, the fact that she's lip syncing is cool because she actually did the vocals for it. So if you're lip syncing your own stuff, and plus it's performance, it's a wrestling thing. It's not doing a concert. So people making a big deal out of it is ridiculous. I loved, like I said, she was featured as much as him. So she's in it. They got an investment in her as much as him, and I love it. And like I said, they're good people, and I want to see good things happen to them. And that's a grand debut. They don't give debuts like that to just anybody. It's those kind of entrances, and I would love to see it in front of a crowd. I'm sure everyone was thinking the same thing. I wish there was a crowd there, but for no crowd, it came off really well.
Yeah, I actually said the opposite last Wednesday. That was an entrance that it was cinematic. I don't think it needed a crowd. And I think the crowd would have been silent. I think they would have been in awe. I think they would have loved it, but the no crowd and the smoke about the ringside area during the whole match, that was one part that I absolutely liked more, that there was no crowd there.
It came off really well. And it was a squash. He was only in there for a minute or two, but it was the way it needed to happen. If they're going to make him like that, kind of a killer, almost maybe even in a Goldberg fashion to a degree of just crushing people, maybe that's what they need to do. Now I'm compelled to really watch it. Not just because I'm a fan, but now even if I didn't know who this guy was, I'd be like, I got to see what they're going to do. Where are they going to go with this? And again, I like that they're utilizing her just as much as a big part of it. So, we haven't seen a real power couple here in a while. People would say Rusev and Lana, but to a little bit of a different degree. This is a little bit of a different act here. Mm-hmm. Rusev and Lana. Yeah. And that took time to build up Rusev and Lana. These two are coming in right off the bat in a grand fashion. And right at the heart of like the 9 o'clock hour, right in the prime time. So again, good things, good people. I wish them well, and I'm looking forward to Wednesday night. See them again.
What about Otis and Mandy as a couple?
I love them too. I mean, they're great. I was saying, DT, God, Friday, Mandy announces she's taking time off to have a baby with Otis. And I know they're not dating in real life, but stranger things that happen. Don't be surprised if they got together. I mean, she puts Otis over every step of the way, saying he's adorable. She loves hanging out with him, and he really legit loves her. So stranger things have happened. You never know. Yeah. I like the coupling that they're doing with people now. Some are legit real life couples, some are not. But the ones that they have together fit well together, so I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Rain Entertainment, we were talking yesterday on the Money in the Bank recap as far as the possibilities with the briefcase. I think it was Joe Punches that said, hey, what if Otis handed the briefcase over to Mandy? I did my impersonation yesterday, here, Mandy. Yeah. And then if she went, oh, yeah! So, hey, there's so many ways they could go with the briefcase. He could cash it in and become a champion. Tucker could cash it in, take it from, him and cash it in for a tag title shot, even though maybe Otis wasn't, as willing, and they lose it somehow. Maybe he gives it to Mandy. Maybe he gives it to Mandy and this flips out Tucker because he thought that they were going to use it for a tag title shot. There's so many ways they can go with this briefcase. And honestly, that's a storyline you milk. Yeah. That's a storyline that could go a couple of months where he has the briefcase. It would be extremely interesting if he just handed the briefcase over to Mandy on Friday. However, they can also kind of plant the seed too, where he could offer it to Mandy, and then Mandy says, no, you want it, it's yours. Even though the more I think about it, that wouldn't make sense because Mandy would not challenge for a men's championship. Otis didn't win a women's Money in the Bank. So the more I think about that, that wouldn't make sense. But I could see him still offering it, because you want to give it to her. So there's many ways that they could go with this. I just hope one day Tucker turns on Otis so I could come up here and the first two words out of my mouth is Mother Tucker. That Mother Tucker. I've been saying it since February 14th. I want Tucker to turn heel. Unfortunately, when he turns heel, I think that'll be the beginning of his end of his WWE run.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, I mean, he might have, a lot of heat originally feuding with Otis, but once that feud dissipates, I don't know what you do. You have to totally repackage Tucker or he's done.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Shout out, I don't know what Dream 101, what you're saying. Spent a lot of money on clippers. There's no meat. You can't go here. You can't go there. I don't know what clippers are. When I think of clippers, I think of nail clippers or a basketball team. So I have no idea what you are talking about, my friend. Clippers. I love his stuff. So, and you want to talk about Alberto Del Rio?
Yeah, I figured close out with him. I mean, is there more? Is an update more to that story that happened?
Oh, there's quite a bit.
All right,
hey, everybody out there knows. Since day one, I took the side of Velveteen Dream. I didn't take the side because it was my gut feeling. I didn't take the side because, hey, it'll give me good brownie points. Hey, I'm supporting a black guy. I took his side because I took everything that came out, looked at the times, looked at all the facts, and a lot of things didn't add up. And then when those people went from, hey, do you think it was, I don't know if it was really him that sent us the nude or if he was hacked. And then he comes out a couple hours later, I was hacked. And instead of him saying, okay, well, he said he was hacked. No, they were like in denial, like they refused to accept that answer. Like it had to be the other way. And that one dope, because, you can't give the guy any momentum. Oh, we're on the phone. Police report filed. Yup. That pretty much spelled the demise of that. Yeah. Alberto Del Rio, though, on the other hand, after reading the police report and seeing all of the stuff that came out, honestly, I can't help but to think about that incident when he was with Paige. And wasn't there like a stabbing that happened, I think, in Texas that quietly was never explained back then? I don't know if anybody remembers that story. It was just some weird stuff. This guy, for those that don't know all the details, he was arrested on May 9th in San Antonio, Texas. All right. Unfortunately, a lot of websites, they just read and hear. They don't listen. They don't let it penetrate. All they got focused on, they got infatuated with, is he's accused of sexual assault and threatening to dump a child in the middle of a road. You know, because they read those two sentences and it sounded like the sexiest thing that would get them the most hits instead of actually doing research. And let me also add to everybody out there that all these goofs, and I've given everybody the explanation and the education of what the difference between bail and bond is. Bond only costs 10% of what the value is. So Del Rio was released on $50,000 bond, not bail, bond. So he had to come up with about $5,000 and change to get out of jail. The reason why I start off with that is when I explain what has come out, in the back of your mind, just remember that he got out on $50,000 bond, you know, which only cost him a little more than $5,000 when you think about it. But he apparently was dating this woman. All right, that's something that nobody is bringing up. He apparently was dating this woman, and he accused her of cheating on him. And this woman waited a couple of days, you know, to file the report. Police investigated it. They took pictures of her bruises, and they had enough where they could arrest him, and they arrested him and charged him with a Class 2 felony sexual assault. Apparently, she claims that, you know, he had hit her a few times. He broke her cell phone. He broke her laptop. He threatened to burn her passport so she couldn't go back to, I think, Mexico. She also claimed in the police report that when she was, you know, crying, like he shoved a sock in her mouth so she couldn't cry and couldn't talk. And that, you know, he was basically, you know, off and on, physically and emotionally tormenting her for almost a day. And she got out of there on May 4th. I don't know how she went to, but she ended up getting the strength to go to the cops. And if you look at his mugshot, you know, it looks like a guy who is so angry and like, you know, like he's like holding his lips in. And, you know, it was funny because early on people like, you know, are we sure that that's Del Rio? All you got to do, and it's funny because he always used to make fun of Triple H and call him what, Big Nose?
Yeah, Big Nose. Big
Nose. You look at Del Rio, he's got there's like an indentation on his nose that is the telltale sign that it was him. But, you know, he abused this woman. You know, he hit her in the head a few times that she said made her very woozy and dizzy. That he sexually I hate to say it like this, but I'm going to just say it. He whipped out his dick and started like slapping her around with his dick.
He dick slapped her?
He dick slapped her. But, you know, he apparently, I don't, and this is where I'm speculating, and I honestly don't know, but, you know, some of the information that was told to me was that he found stuff on her phone and possibly her laptop also. I don't know if it was emails or text messages, but he accused her of cheating on him, and the guy went ballistic and fucking basically, I don't want to say held her hostage, but basically for about a day was physically beating the shit out of her, broke her phone, broke this, broke that. And that could be the reason possibly why this may have taken an extra day or two before they decided to, you know, get an arrest warrant for him. But we don't know when his next court date is. He is out on bond. But I tell you, man, when you read the report, they got photos. They got, you know, the details on the phone being broken and everything else. I think this guy's wrestling career is done. He's got a history of anger issues. He has had in history, you know, some people have accused him of abusing Paige. We don't know because we never witnessed it, but, you know, there was some incident. I remember the airport. Last August, he had an incident that the charges were, I think, eventually dropped. But I always think back to that original incident with the stabbing that, you know, I just never could understand why that just went away. There's just something, in my opinion, it sounds like, and I'm not trying to downplay it, it sounds like a guy jealous, and just very obsessive and very controlling. And, I'm sure you knew people that were like that. I know people that were like that. We've seen it on TV. I know a lot of you out there may have had parents that were like that, maybe to not that extent. But it looks like there's way too much evidence against this guy. And look, innocent until proven guilty. I always say that. But there's so much that came out with this. I think this fucking guy is done.
Yeah, no, and didn't he? I mean, not that long ago, he was saying that he was coming to the WWE, and there was no evidence of that. He was just probably talking out of his ass that he was going to have one more run after something like this, and especially nowadays. And listen, it was never the one thing I want to stress to even younger people. It was never, people say, oh, back in the day, you can get away with certain things. It was no big deal. It was always a big deal for physical abuse of a woman or a kid or threats or, brandishing a gun on somebody. It was always a big deal. Certain people get away with shit. They bury shit. I mean, look with Jimmy Snuka in '83. Some people say he got away with murder. Yes, but there was no, it was cool to do it, and we just overlooked it. Just certain things did get buried. But today, you can't do anything like that. It's impossible. There's just too much at stake, especially WWE, the kind of company they are now, and they're promoting a whole thing of women empowerment and anti-bullying and stuff. That's the epitome. That's the opposite. And I don't know if he has a drug problem or whatever, DT. I don't know what his deal is. He's got anger issues. Is it fueled by alcohol or drugs? Has he ever been accused, by the way, DT? Of taking in illegal drugs and stuff like that?
It's been, okay. We had the videos that apparently he was on cocaine at that time. Wasn't he in New York?
Was it a rumor?
I think he might have been in New York, and I think...
Oh, was that thing on, what was that? Was it Periscope? What do they call that?
Yeah, a Periscope, because I was calling it Periscope. He was on Periscope, and it's...
Periscope.
Yeah.
So he's been tied to cocaine and stuff, and that's just gonna, someone his age or whatever, it's gonna lead to his demise sooner or later, or incarceration. And it looks like this time it'll be, and maybe incarceration will save his life, to be honest with you, because you think he's going to do time over this, DT?
Look, $50,000 bond. It's a decent amount, but when you think about that much sexual assault, you're kind of surprised that it was only $50,000 bond. And the reason why I say that too is because he was arrested last August for, accused of assault, and those charges were dropped. We think back to the other things that had gone on. Of course, when things are dropped, you can't hold it against people, but he's got, a history of questionable incidents. The thing is, though, is it feels like a lot of those incidents ended up getting dropped or resolving themselves. So I don't know how much of a convicted history he has. I have not taken the time to do that research yet. Right. But, the fact that they let him out on that low of a bond tells me that, there were visible marks, her neck, her face, her arms. I don't know how severe they were, and they were in a relationship. So obviously, look, a relationship or not, that's still, no one deserves to be assaulted physically, sexually, mentally, in any way, shape, or form. But there's a relationship there. It's not that he just took a woman hostage or met someone in a bar and just, so there is a history there between the two. So the fact that she still went to the cops, because a lot of us know, and they talked about it on the news, especially with COVID going on, there's a lot more domestic violence that's being reported because people are forced to stay home a lot more with each other. So, this doesn't look good, but as far as jail time, I don't know. I mean, put it this way, if anybody out there thinks that he's going to do 5-10 years, that's not happening. It's not. There was no rape. Yes, doing the things he did is disgusting still, but it's not on the level of, it was a class 2 felony and it's sexual assault. If you look at it, it's just sexual assault. You don't even see any abuse. You don't see anything for breaking the items. They're just accusing him of that. So I wonder if there's more charges that are going to be filed. I think right now they arrested him on the sexual assault, and I think they're probably trying to build more charges against him. If he gets more charges, then I could see him doing some decent jail time. But even if this ends up, being very little as far as jail, I don't see WWE bringing him back. I remember the incident with Rich Swann. And
Rich Swann.
And
what's her name? What's her name again?
Su Yung?
Su Yung, yeah.
Yeah, and, they let him go on that, and this is a guy that has a track record of, even worse. I'm telling you, man, that stabbing thing always stuck with me. That was just something fascinating how that never turned into anything, man. I think his wrestling career is going to... He's not a spring chicken either. He's in his 40s, I believe.
He's over 40.
He's got to be, I think, 42 or 43.
Something like
somewhere
that.
around that. So, there'll probably always be a promotion that would consider bringing him in. But, man, the way with the Me Too stuff, even though it's kind of fucked up right now, because now Republican women are afraid to come forward. That's a whole political thing. But I think every time a Fed advertises this guy, unless it's his own Fed, you're going to see people online protesting. You're going to see wrestlers. I will not work a card with this piece of shit. So who knows, man?
He's 42, by the way.
All right, 42. Okay.
Yeah, Chad's 42.
All right. But yeah, it does not look good for Mr. Del Rio. So
no, it's too bad. He could have had a legendary career, and he let relationships and dysfunctional relationships get the better of him. Paige turned it around. He could not. And he was the older one of the two, the more adult, and it's funny that Paige was able to turn her life completely around, and Del Rio has gone further into the abyss. So
you know what?
It's too bad.
When you look at his nose up close with that indentation, it looks like a dick. It looks like the tip of a penis. So he used to always call Triple H Mr. Big Nose. I think we should start calling him Mr. Dick Nose.
Dick Nose.
Seriously. So
that was a good insult back in the day.
Yeah, he did. It's a shame, man. But I think this guy is done. And, yeah.
DT, we want to shout out. I don't know if you were a fan of either show, but obviously we'd be amiss if we didn't mention Jerry Stiller, the father of Ben Stiller, who died. 2 legendary TV shows. Seinfeld, played George Costanza's dad, and played Carrie Spooner's father on King of Queens for 10 years. So Jerry Stiller, famous actor, R.I.P., 92 years old. DT.
I was very disappointed with my social media family because I was making a joke and people thought I was being cold to Jerry Stiller. They didn't get it. Maybe it wasn't good what I did, but for
I
me,
didn't see that today.
Well, for me, Jerry Stiller will always be, known for me. Like, I'll always remember Festivus for the rest of us.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So I decided to have some fun with that today. And I said, for anybody out there that's expecting me to pay tribute to him, I'll leave his tribute in the vestibule for the rest of you. I tried to do a play on Festivus for the rest of us. I said, I'll leave it in the vestibule for the rest of you. And fucking people were like, PMing me like, what do you have against Jerry Stiller? I'm like, do you fucking get that? I was paying tribute to the guy, and I Googled it first to see if anybody ever came up with that. Nobody ever came up with that before. I was like, vestibule for the rest of you.
Yeah,
people, man, you disappoint me sometimes. But yeah, 92 years old. God bless him, man. 2 fun characters. I mean, Seinfeld will always be my favorite of the two. Because when I saw her in King of Queens, I'm like, it still looked like Frank Costanza to me.
It was a similar character, but both 10-year runs almost on both shows, 20 years between the two sitcoms, and they were back to back. He jumped right into King of Queens a
Yeah.
year or two right after Seinfeld was done, and he was already well over 65. So he spent his golden years on television. And DT, did you ever see the legendary movie 1974 Taking of Pelham 123?
No.
They hijacked the train. You never saw it?
No.
I don't know if anybody else saw it out there. It's a great. They did a remake with Travolta 10 years ago. It sucked, but the original Taking of Pelham 123 with Walter Matthau and Jerry Stiller played a big role in that. He was a cop, and if it was a serious film, people hijacked a train in the subway in 1974. It's a great film. It's called Taking a Pound 123, and that's where you could see him being very serious. And actually, that's the true story. Is he took Ben, a young 8-9-year-old Ben Stiller, to the set, and that's when Ben decided he wanted to get into acting, and that was what kind of launched him as a kid actor. And then obviously Ben has had a legendary career, whether you like Ben Stiller or not. The guy is dozens of hit movies. So the Stiller family is iconic in Hollywood. But yeah, 92, and I always heard anybody in one of our listeners, I can't remember who it was, she posted a picture of meeting him not too long ago at a doctor's office, and he was very nice. I'm blanking on who the person's name is. I'll shout you out tomorrow on my show. But she put up a picture, said that he was going to a doctor's office. He was with a caretaker. It was a couple of years ago. He was still, very elderly, and he was very nice. Took a picture, and he was very engaging. He was just happy to meet a fan, and I've always heard good things about him, interactions with him over the years.
And he's from New York.
Yeah, he's from New York. Yeah, originally from New York. This was in Staten Island where she ran into him. By the way. Yeah,
and
R.I.P.
Yeah, yesterday on my Patreon show, I paid tribute to him a little bit. I'm sure you'll probably talk about him a little bit more on Patreon tomorrow. But we also lost Little Richard. I think he was 87. And it was funny because I had mentioned this yesterday. I had just seen, not even 2 weeks ago, the episode of Miami Vice where he was in the park being the preacher and everything. And, man, that guy, he inspired so many performers of the 50s, 60s, 70s, for the most part, from the Beatles on, one of the greatest performers of all time. And what I love about it, and I was talking about this yesterday, is that, he went through hell in the 50s and 60s especially. But in the latter years, the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, it seemed like, for the most part, nobody gave a shit that he was black.
Well, also he and black and gay. I mean, that was a double whammo back then. But he, much like Liberace, shielded it initially in his career because publicists and people would tell him to don't say anything. If anything, you're asexual. You're neither here nor there, and you didn't talk about it back then. But very much like Liberace, you kept people guessing until they literally were kind of forced out. But nothing really came of that with Little Richard. And when rock and roll, when you think of Little Richard, there's Little Richard, Elvis, and Chuck Berry, who really started it all in the 50s. And I think Little Richard and Chuck Berry were obviously the forerunners. Elvis came thereafter. But those three are really the kings of old school rock and roll, the three of those guys. Some would say the Duke, the Prince, and the King, with Little Richard, Chuck Berry, and Elvis. And they all liked each other, by the way. They all got along very well. But Little Richard had such a run, and he was, WrestleMania 10, DT? He sang the national anthem? Yeah, WrestleMania 10. So he had one little interaction with wrestling. But, of course, again, and, you think of Mark Romero, Johnny B. Bad doing an imitation of him. That was clearly a Little Richard takeoff. But he's one of those guys who he really stood the test of time and was performing up until maybe even 10 years ago, DT, even further than that.
I always put him in the same, I always looked at him the same way as I did with Jerry Lee Lewis.
Jerry Lee Lewis, too, yeah.
Because they were both just energy. I was talking to somebody yesterday and said, what's the first word that comes to your mind when you think of Little Richard? And same thing, energy. Fucking energy. And
you see him on the piano with Keep a Knockin', Ready Teddy, and songs like that. It just, again, people never seen anything like that. If you watch him or Jerry Lee Lewis, and you look at the crowd that's watching him perform, the crowd is like, what am I seeing here?
What's funny?
In a good way, though. It was really epic, man.
You know what's funny? I never, ever came across any articles of him talking about being gay.
Well, it's not.
The more I think about it now, I didn't even realize he was gay. I never even, all of these years, I never ever, I know he had some eyeliner on and stuff like that. I don't ever recall ever
You
him
really didn't know that?
doing an interview talking about being gay. Never thought about that.
Never officially came out, but obviously, like I said, things have been said over the years. But obviously, he's also never been married. He's never been attached to a woman. But that's not even the point. The point being is,
right. But did he ever do an interview saying he was gay?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. But maybe someone can prove that wrong if someone wants to post that. But I've never seen that.
Yeah.
But
I don't think he was.
Liberace never did one either. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I know, but I don't recall. I tell you, it would be surprising, but you know what? I think the best word to give Little Richard, even with that, aura, is he was, and this is where, like you bring up Johnny B. Bad, which is a good comparison. He was flamboyant.
Yeah,
flamboyant is probably the perfect word, because flamboyant, it's like almost. I always thought flamboyancy is like asexual.
Right.
So
like Mayor Koch.
Mayor Koch.
That's what the people used to describe him as.
I would pay this. I would have paid to see Mayor Koch sing. Even though I think he did New York. But tell you, man, 87 years old.
Hold on a second. Franchise is saying he just posted an article saying that he's always acknowledged being gay.
Yeah, but somebody just said he was married. So hey, you know what? Maybe he liked his M&Ms plain M with peanuts.
This article always says he acknowledged being gay. Okay, I mean, maybe he was bisexual. Whatever the case may be, he was very flamboyant. He was very out there, ahead of his time. In the 1950s, never saw anybody like that. And Liberace was another guy, but Liberace didn't play rock and roll. Liberace was playing classical music. So again, these were pioneers, and he lived far beyond. I mean, Chuck Berry lived a pretty long life too. Elvis obviously died in his early 40s. But the last of the Mohegans, basically, is he's the last of that era of the kings of rock and roll.
One thing I think we could all agree on, whether he was gay or if he wasn't gay,
none of us care.
Yeah, none of us care. He was just a great performer. So
yeah, no, he's a great performer and iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we go, there's 5 parts to the series. So, we definitely need to see where this all goes. But watched part 1 of the Undertaker's documentary yesterday, The Last Ride. You realize the crazy ass footage that they've recorded of all their performers for the last tons of years. Because when, obviously Undertaker never was comfortable to talk about his career until now. And he was always an enigma. But when they go back and they're showing footage of him smiling and hanging out, and it's 10 years ago, you realize they have unbelievable amounts of behind-the-scenes footage of all their stars. It's mind-boggling to see them have that much Undertaker footage out of his element, being a regular guy, laughing, talking. I love that they did not leave out Jericho, Jim Ross, others. They left everything in there, and it was 55 minutes yesterday. It kind of, was talking about, his latter injuries and talking about falling out of confidence. The WrestleMania match with Brock Lesnar, he doesn't remember any of it. Like, the last thing he remembers is like 3:30 in the afternoon.
No, I don't remember anything. Yeah.
They slightly touched on the match with Roman Reigns, even though the footage they showed that kind of made the match look a lot better than what it was. Mm-hmm. That's going to continue on part 2. But, talk about him totally out of his element. And I fucking loved it. I can't believe they didn't try to manufacture this as like a DVD set or something. They would have made crazy ass money off this stuff. Add matches to it. They'll probably do that anyway. But what did you think of part 1? I thought it was unbelievable.
Undertaker is one of my top 5 all time. It's one of my favorites. So I was all in to watch it. I'm looking forward to it weekly now. I thought it was great. And yeah, I agree with you. I'm surprised. Maybe he just wanted to, give something back, not have to make the fans like buy a DVD set, just do this for the network, help out the network and put something on there. I thought it was great, and it's 3 years ago, like you said. Jericho was there. Jericho's been in a bunch of it actually in the first one, and other people who are not with the company anymore. They left everybody in, like you said. And again, Taker is Taker. He's there. Even if they told him, let's remove, he probably said, leave everybody in. And you see him limping.
Yeah,
he was walking with his wife.
Injections in the knees.
Yeah, that was kind of hard to watch him walking, limping, and stuff like that. With the match before, Roman Reigns walking through the hallway of the stadium. But, and he's, again, after seeing him on Steve Austin's candid interview with Steve on Broken Skull Sessions and stuff, seeing a lot more of Mark Calloway, the man. And I've seen candid interviews with him before. But you're getting to really, really see more, like you said, DT, they're humanizing him, like you said before, much more now. So he can be at the future Hall of Fames and give induction speeches and be presented like a normal human being instead of this, Walking Dead guy. And it's time to do that. He's 54 years old. It's, we get it. Everybody gets the whole gimmick. We all get it. We can all suspend disbelief when he gets into character, but it's fine to do this with him now. It doesn't disparage him anyway. It doesn't make him look less in anybody's eyes. I was even thinking, look at even seeing him injured and limping and kind of being a little bit broken down doesn't even make him look weak. You kind of respect him even more, right, DT? Like, you don't look at him as, I feel so bad for him. Like, you respect. He's like a man's man. Even Jim Ross and Chris Jericho were saying he's the toughest son of a bitch in wrestling. That's from their mouths. Like, you'll hear it for yourself. Everyone will say Mark is the toughest guy in wrestling. No doubt about it. Just what he endures and what he takes and how he gets himself. And even if he's hurt, he comes back next time. No excuses. So what you get from Undertaker out is his respect. You feel bad from a perspective of listen, I'm in my 50s too. It's sad to see people getting older and stuff, and things take effect and things happen as you get older, but it's inspiring to see him he's a man's man. You look up to a guy like this and you say, even if you're not a fan of The Undertaker, even if you're not a big fan of the character, you got to like this guy as a person, and that's what you'll get from this. I think everybody who watches it, even if you're not a big Undertaker fan, you'll enjoy it.
There's not many people left. I'm not saying of that era, but people who put that much, it's funny because, I brought this up in the past, them doing that 24 documentary about Goldberg when he came back so he could perform in front of his son live. Yeah. When I saw all the training and all, the hard work he put through, it really gave me an absolute newfound respect for that guy, because you realize how difficult that is. Mm-hmm. Then you see the Undertaker stuff, and then you realize, and the next episode, they get to show the hip surgery. Now, I have plates and screws in my hip, and they've said to me, as recent as 15 years ago, that eventually I'm going to need a hip replacement. Yeah. So, seeing that and realizing that this guy still fucking performs is unbelievable. But
it is.
I tell you, I was never a big fan of Michelle McCool, and right. She just comes off like, I always looked at the age, the age difference between the two, and not saying that was a factor, but I always saw the age difference, and I was never a fan of her work. But what comes across is that she absolutely, I'm not saying that I never thought she didn't love him, but you just see that connection between the two, they were meant for each other.
I agree with you, DT. He's about 16, 17 years older from what I understand than her. He's in his early 50s. She's in her mid to late 30s. But yeah, she definitely comes. Undertaker's been married 3 times, but I think he got it right this time. They're kind of almost cute together. They look like they belong together. They've been together for a while now, and I think they'll be married to the end of time. I think that this is it for him, and she does. She generally loves him and cares about him, and they're a good couple. You can tell that they are.
Yeah. Yeah, and Darren, I don't. With as far as Goldberg, it showed the absolute obsession and dedication and the crazy hard work that guy put in just to have a handful of matches. That's gave me added respect to see all of everything that he did behind the scenes. Then I see it what Undertaker has gone through, and when he had some matches that he just, that one match where he walked to the back and Triple H just hugged him and started crying. Even Undertaker admits that he lost confidence in his matches, and he was going to have a match, I think, with Bray Wyatt at Mania, and he was in the back, and he says that to this day he gives Triple H so much credit because Triple H walked up to him, and they have it on film, and Triple H is like, you're the fucking Undertaker. You're one of the greatest of all time, and gave him some of that confidence. And, you see what you come across with part one is, they show his debut in 90, but what they do is they pick up, maybe 7-8 years ago. They pick up where he could still do it, but then he started losing confidence. And then he regained it again, but then he got knocked out from Lesnar, and then he had the match with Roman Reigns. And we all remember, and, when we're at the very end, when they show him sitting like on his couch or something, and he's watching the match against Roman Reigns for the first time, and he can't lift his leg. I mean, how many of you for the last year or two that I have focused on Undertaker when he's on his feet? He still looks fabulous. The minute he has to go off his feet, that's where the problems come in. When you see that spot with Roman Reigns, that's not Roman Reigns not being able to pick him up. That's Undertaker not being able to push himself off so Reigns could pick him up. And you see Undertaker, he's fucking embarrassed. It felt so bad. And you know what? I have a little bit more appreciation for Roman Reigns because you see those private conversations, and you see Roman Reigns really did care because that match was supposed to be his last. That was his swan song. It
was supposed to be, and here we are 3 years later. And he's still here.
But, yeah. So they're going to do 4 more parts. They averaged, if they're the same length, we got 4 more hours of this. I can't wait, man.
I can't imagine how much they got a lot in on part one.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how much behind the scenes and how much home footage and other things. I wonder what they're going to show all this time.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Everyone out there, the surgery stuff might be a little, when they, if you could get past that, it's fabulous. When you see that, what I was left with was when you see that older footage with him and Jericho and him and even Triple H and others, you realize how much they followed him behind the scenes, and he didn't balk at it. You know what I mean? Like, they have him out of his element for years and years and years and years and years. And it wasn't just from the hotel to the arena, back to the hotel. Like, he just interacted with everybody behind the scenes like a regular guy. Even brought up, that he never looked at himself being a locker room leader. Go out of your way to see it.
Definitely.
So, with that said, we went a little over time today. So I know some of you out there, it's going to take probably a little while for everything to get processed tonight. But any final comments before we go?
No, just tune in tomorrow night for, if you're not on Patreon, sign up. Patreon.com/DonTony. You can sign up today, tomorrow, whatever. Join us at 8:15 tomorrow for Castle Chronicles. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, if you don't already, it's Kev Z as in Zorro Castle. So
I always think of Zeus.
Yeah,
Z Gangsta.
It's for Zubaz, the old school pants.
Oh, okay. I always thought of Z Gangsta when Zeus was Z Gangsta. So it's like Z Gangsta, Z Castle.
Yeah, Kev Z Castle on Twitter, and follow me if you can. And that's it. No, of course, we have a big, we had a good recap that'll be, I guess, spliced into tonight, right, from last night.
Oh, no, last night's been online since yesterday.
Oh, no, for people who didn't get to hear it.
Oh, yeah, it's online already. In fact, for those that want to go check this out, I'll leave everybody with this little visual. You could check it out later if you want. We know Eric Rowan, and I might as well just throw it out there. Eric Rowan is one of the ones who got released. And this guy that makes some of the masks and some of the, the costumes for WWE, this guy by the name of Jason Baker, he actually posted online, which was, I thought, fabulous. He actually made a custom mask for Eric Rowan for WrestleMania 32. and he was inspired from the Bride of Frankenstein. And he posted this online, and for people that are looking at the video right now, that actually was supposed to be for Eric Rowan for WrestleMania, and WWE said no to it. And you see it lights up. I mean, it's just really like whacked out. I mean, it's cool. It looks really fucking cool. I don't know what the outlet part of the back of it was supposed to be, but, to me, it just looked really, really cool. And the guy was a little offended that WWE never bothered to, actually go with it. So, it just makes you wonder, what other things that WWE did. That looks like it took a crazy amount of work, and WWE did not go with it.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out.
Yeah. All right, Kev. I will talk to you tomorrow for Castle Chronicles.
Okay. Thanks,
Right,
everybody.
take it easy.
Okay. Thanks, DT. Peace.
All right, later. All right, everybody. I am out of here because I got a little bit of editing to do and put stuff online, but I want to thank you all for tuning in as always. And as you saw, we got into all the super chat questions. Wednesday, a little bit easier because it's mostly AEW and NXT. And I'm going to remind everyone, prepare you. Wednesday, I will brag a little bit because, last week, AEW, what was their rating? 732,000 viewers. What did I predict? 731. So we'll have fun on Wednesday. Got a lot of things to get into. And everyone, again, I don't care where you live. I don't care if you're 5 minutes away or 5,000 miles away. Stay strong with this. Seems like the worst is over. Just keep being careful. And don't listen to these fucks out there that are saying, oh, we're going to go back to what we were 6 weeks ago if we let everybody back. No, 6 weeks ago, nobody was using masks. 6 weeks ago, nobody was social distancing. 6 weeks ago, nobody understood how serious this was. I think we all learned a boatload about this virus in the last 6 weeks. I social distance for people out of respect. I spray my office with Lysol after every time someone leaves, out of respect. Nobody gets offended by it. So everyone, be strong. Hopefully the worst is over with. Maybe in a month or two, we start seeing some crowds coming back to some wrestling. I definitely see that happening. And I'm still holding out hope that AEW possibly allows the friends and the family of the wrestlers and the workers in the building to appear for their pay-per-view May 23rd, I believe it is. So don't count that out. Nobody's talking about that, but I think it's going to happen. I think not for the open public, but for the family and friends of the wrestlers, the building, the people working there. Everybody will get a test, a rapid test. They'll be checking for temperature. And I think we will have some type of a crowd for that event. WWE, I think, is going to take a little bit longer, because of, the publicly traded company. And I talked yesterday about why they were alternating between a live match and a pre-recorded match for Money in the Bank. So, Brandon, I totally respect you. You think the worst is not over. I totally get it. But, there have been a lot of other catchy illnesses, measles and other things that, if somebody has something, you stay away. Sure. Some people don't have any symptoms yet and could have the virus. Well, I look at it like sex. If I'm wearing a condom and my significant other has got birth control and I pull out, chances of her getting pregnant is slim to none. If I'm wearing a fucking mask and someone else is 6 feet away from me wearing a fucking mask, if that person sneezes, I fucking jet out of there. But if that person doesn't cough or sneeze in my face and that person's wearing a mask and I'm wearing a mask and we're 6 feet away from each other and I'm in a room that was sprayed with Lysol, if it's that contagious, then we should never fucking leave our houses ever again. That's how I look at it. So I think we gotta, be careful, be smart, and, stay away. If you're very old or you got health issues, stay home for a little bit longer. But, hey, bottom line is none of us want to be in this situation. Everybody's affected differently, financially, physically, emotionally. But I'll tell you, when I saw my mom yesterday for Mother's Day, it felt fucking good. And I'm going to see her again later this week. So, all right, I'm rambling and I'm out of here. So I will catch you all again right here on Wednesday for Wednesday Night Dynamite. If you enjoyed the show tonight, hit the like button. It'll give it as a recommendation for others to tune in. If you enjoy the channel, please subscribe. On our way to 11,000, the Donzilla Army strong, and we'll see how soon we can get to 15,000. Quicker we get to 15,000, the quicker mission I return with another goofy food challenge. We'll have fun, everybody. So, all right, be well. Much love as always, and I'll catch you all Wednesday for Wednesday Night Dynamite. Ciao.
Don-O-Mite.
It was fun to channel surf. It was kind of hard to do a little pocket pool after you hitting the last channel button 50 times for 2 hours plus.
Don-O-Mite.
And his whole idea of overanalyzing, oh, he's an alcoholic and he misplaced the belt. And how could you have someone champion like that? The fuck out of here.
Wednesday night.
Don-O-Mite, you can have fun. You really are.